All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Corning Museum of Glass, and welcome to our late show. We have very special guest artists, Karen Willenbrink-Johnsen and Jasen Johnsen. Let's give these two a big round of applause. Thank you very much. This is a special demonstration. These two are over at the studio next door teaching a class, and they were gracious enough to come over here and do our late show. So we're very excited to have them. We have also helping them out Helen Tegler, Tom Ryder, and we have a couple of students as well helping them out throughout the demonstration. So they'll be in and out, and I might jump in as well. I'm Katie. I'm going to narrate this process for you. If you have questions at all, please let me know. But we're also live streaming. So if anybody online, welcome. Those of you joining us online, if any of you have questions, please let us know, and I'd love to answer them for you here on our side. So welcome. So we are getting started. What we're making today, and our friend Ade over there is making and updating some information about Karen and Jasen, some of their social media handles. So yeah, okay, so what we're going to make today here, we're making two hummingbirds that are going to hold a banner, and then that is going to be all on a chalice. The chalice has been made already by Chris Rochelle, who's on our glass team here at the Corning Museum of Glass. And so right now what Karen is working on is the hummingbird. And so she's starting that. We have a team over here, Helen and Tom, working on some flowers. Perfect, some extra decoration to go along with this. So Karen and Jasen have been and are pillars of the glass community. And some of their work is all over the world. They have taught classes all over the world and still do. So this is a great pleasure. So we'll start by talking about the glass process and then a little bit more about these two as we go along, and then kind of get into the assembly. That's all going to really happen. This is about an hour-long demonstration. But yeah, you're in for a treat. So we first start out with glass in our furnace at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. At the temperature, glass moves like honey and it glows. So right now we're bringing some out of the oven here. That glass there on the end is runny like honey. So we're going to start to turn at all times when we're working with it. As it starts to cool, it becomes a bit gummy, kind of like taffy. And then right around about 1,000 degrees, it stops moving. So we're able to then work it when that kind of gummy taffy temperature. Right now, we've brought over a punty to that piece there. Karen has attached the punty to that hummingbird and then breaks it off of the pipe that Karen had it on before. So that punty helps us reverse the axis so that we're able to work on the other top. I guess continue the axis but on a different pipe. So we can work on the head of the hummingbird. We have a furnace that we're inside right now. That furnace is also 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. And then this bench over here has a working furnace as well. Same temperature, 2,100 Fahrenheit. We also have a garage here in the corner. That garage is around about 1,000 degrees, about 1,020 on one side and about 950 on the other side. That allows for us to add pieces of glass into that oven, and then if we wanted to take it back out, we can slowly work it up to a higher temperature before we put it into a 2,000 degree oven. So we have some pieces that we've pre-made in that oven over there, and we'll be working on taking those out probably during the assembly portion. All right. Any questions so far? Awesome. We get our glass, clear glass, from a manufacturer that makes it. And we take that clear glass and we put it in our oven and it melts down into a big ceramic bowl called a crucible. We get it in this format here called collet. It's just a little ice cube of glass. We shovel this stuff into our furnace. It melts down, and then we can use it the next day. This usually takes about 6 hours or so to melt, so we don't really want to do that in the beginning of the day because then we can't use it for 6 hours. And then so we do this at night, and then we use it the next day. In order to apply color, we take that clear glass straight from the oven, and then we roll it in little granules of crushed up glass called frit. We can also roll it in powdered glass called glass powder. And we can also use color bar as well. So there's a lot of different methods in color application. A lot of what Karen's work consists of is powder, though. So we're able to roll some of this powder up onto the surface of the glass. It sticks in, it melts right in. Powder allows us to get a really nice, even coating of a little bit of color in one particular area, but also gives us a texture of color. And Karen is really quite good at color and texture with it, too. While we're working with our glass, we can't allow our glass to get too cold, or it will crack and it will break. So we put our glass either in an oven to hold at a high temperature so we can use it later, or if the piece is finished, we put it into a high temperatured oven that slowly walks the temperature down to room temperature. That's called the annealer, or the annealing process. We have a couple of our annealers on today to host the next few pieces that we make, or this piece as a whole. And we'll be putting the glass into that when it's finished. So that's what we're doing over here. We have a person flashing that. So what we mean by that is we briefly reheat that glass so we can get it and keep it nice and warm. All right, so Yoshi is helping out. Yoshi is our assistant over here helping Karen out. Look at this. Karen is heating up the end of a very thin stringer to add the eyes to our hummingbird. Now, along with those color applications, we also can draw on the glass with stringer. So a stringer is a bit, so also I kind of briefly mentioned color rod. We buy this stuff from a manufacturer along with the same manufacturer that makes the frit or the powder. This is the kind of pure ingot that comes, we can take out of the furnace, we can cool this down, and then they sell it, we buy it from them. This stuff then can be brought up to a high temperature so that we can stick it onto a pipe. Then we can pull it really thin to a really thin cane. And then you can even pull that thin cane to a really tiny string, which is what Karen's done for this exact moment. So over here I have a red string. So you can imagine how this was just pulled out of this to make a really thin string. So a lot of different ways of adding color. So holding that pipe for Karen is important at this moment. Karen's using both hands to sculpt this and can't really turn the pipe while she's working. That's what Yoshi's doing here. Helping out, turning that iron. And then taking those really important flashes, keeping that glass above about 900 degrees. So we've balled some of that glass up. She's going to stick it. I think this is for the long beak. Now, Karen truly is a master at this type of detail. She's known for this type of detail. So she's added that little tiny ball of glass to the very top. And they're going to heat this up again. And then she's probably going to pull this out. Immensely talented. So I have a little blurb about Karen I'd like to read. Karen creates astonishing work derived from her love of adventure, nature, and glass. Raised in Ohio, the naturalist daughter of a naturalist father, Karen is constantly inspired, revitalized, and awed by the power of nature. After earning her BFA in sculpture from Ohio University, glass quickly became the driving force in Karen's life. She moved to Washington State in '87, and soon afterward she began working as an assistant to the legendary glass artist William Morris, who you'll see his work in the Heinemann Gallery. We have some pieces from him. Karen's unique vision and passion for glass is evident in her work, which has been shown extensively in galleries and museums throughout the country. And she co-teaches sculpting classes throughout the world with her husband and collaborator, Jason. So these two, once again, are pillars of the glass community. So we're going to add a wing. So Jasen has prepared a bit, gathered glass, rolled it in some color, flattened it quite a bit. That prepares Karen for the ability to add this on with the most ease possible, instead of it being added on and then kind of really squeezed out, because then you'll see a big flat, kind of a big attachment area, and then it's squeezed out. This is better when it's squeezed out first, flattened and then brought over. Then she adds detail to it. You can tell the temperature of the glass by looking at the glow of the glass. Glassmakers usually rely a little bit more on the movement, because we're seeing it, we're stopping, and we're watching the movement as we turn, or we can sometimes feel the movement through the pipe depending on what we're working on. But you can watch as this glass goes from a lighter, brighter glow to more of a dim glow as it cools as we work with it. So it's pretty quick. We go from inside of that reheating chamber for a brief moment out here and then right back to it. So it's a lot of back and forth. So Jasen's going to, again, apply some color. So it's kind of like a pale blue color. So a pale blue hummingbird. I did see the start of the body of the hummingbird. I believe the belly is a separate color. I think it's a green. So here comes wing number 2. She cuts that glass there. The rest of that stuff we can put into a bucket. It'll break off the pipe. But what's left on there, or what we have as the wing, is useful. In order to assemble this piece, we're going to utilize every person down here. So there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot of teamwork involved in glass making. You really can't do a lot of this by yourself. If you do, you're a bit limited, but it is possible to work alone. But with a great team, you can accomplish great things. The torch that Karen is using often, that torch can go up to 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a very, very hot torch. At a lower setting, we can get nice fine detail with it. But that allows for Karen to get an area of the glass hotter than the rest of the piece, so that she can really kind of focus her attention and detail at one section at a time, and then all over the whole piece is nice and detailed. So here we're going to pull that beak out. Remember we added that little bit of glass earlier? We're choosing to pull it now because this is going to be a very thin and elongated point. Because it's so thin and so long, it's going to want to, so glass, when it gets hot, it wants to ball up. And if we had that extended the entire time, we keep heating it and bringing it out and heating it over and over again, that it's going to ball up again because it keeps going back into that heat. So pulling that as the final touch allows for us to keep that nice pointy beak. All right, look, it looks like our hummingbird is finished. We're going to start to heat up that punty there and remove it. All right, we're going to put this away into our garage. So Yoshi has got a metal paddle. Karen's going to either cut it off onto it or break it off. I'm not sure what kind of temperature she has there, but she's going to do it very delicately. Cut it off. Nice. All right, our beautiful hummingbirds are going into our garage to sit safely and calmly until we're ready to add it on to the piece. So we'll get that ready to go later on. But now we're going to make another hummingbird. And the banner, I saw them creating a little bit of that before. So a little bit of that is finished, and then the chalice is finished too. So the assembly is, I believe, what will be next. We do have some flowers coming out of this. We have at least 1 or 2 finished. We'll maybe add a few more. Any questions at all so far? Awesome. Any questions online? No. All right, so Jason has gathered some of our clear glass, rolled it in some color, starting to let it cool. I think we'll get another dip on that.
If you live your spirit, if you live what matters to you, you're going to be young and happy your whole life. I mean, bad things happen, but you're going to be so happy that you go past all that stuff. So as much as you can in your life, you live for your spirit. Take it from somebody who always has.
That was a lovely speech. I love that. Good advice. Live your spirit. And that's what this piece is about. We're going to have that on the banner, I believe. Perfect. For those of you that were at home, hopefully you got some of that. I think that we could hear some residual stuff, but it's good. So Karen's been in the business for 40 years. She's an outstanding glassmaker. Hard to believe, she says. But yes, living our spirit is very important to do. Overcoming our obstacles. That's something that Karen has done her whole life, being where she is now today. Yes, question. No, this is not a commission piece that has been sold already. This is Karen's spirit living through her glass, absolutely, yeah. So this is a piece that she felt she wanted to make today, and she's been planning it out for a few bits of time, a little bit of time. So yeah, complete artistic creation. She said she puts her spirit in everything that she makes, otherwise she doesn't make it. I think that's a great way to live. I'm not sure what this piece is where its destiny will be. I know that, yeah, I'm not too sure. Yes, we're going to worry about it getting into the annealer right now. Yeah, a lot of Karen's work has been in galleries throughout the world. So we'll see where this one ends up. But for right now, it's definitely a demonstration also for her class, too. So a lot of the things that we do here at the museum is educational. So this is a part that fits into that as well, being more of the educational platform. Yeah, yeah. They'll probably stay at the studio. Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. So Tom's adding petals. And this method of adding petals to a flower that Tom is using, where it's being added to the back of the flower and then pressed, the petals being pressed, and then is being put onto the top of the flower, is something that Karen does. It's Karen's flower making method. And to make a flower look as nice as that, you really want to do it the way Karen does it. And so even though we're putting a lot of glass on the back, the part that's really going to stay together is where all the flower petals, the backside of them all meet together. That's where we're going to break the flower off. So it's going to look like, none of those pull areas ever existed. But this is a really good way to build up petals without, once again, having a big plant area where the glass was pressed onto the bit or pressed onto the what do I say here? Kind of that part where we're building the flower on, that area there. There might sometimes be a big touchdown area where it looks like a big kind of splat. And then you pull that out, and then you get a nice, elegant petal, and you put that against the flower. And then that kind of, it looks nicer that way than having that splat be a part of the form of the flower. All right, so making the body of the hummingbird, you can kind of see the back part of the hummingbird does have a little bit of a different color as opposed to the front. So we're making two very similar hummingbirds. They're going to be holding the banner. And I don't know if we drew the words on it, or if we plan to draw the words on it, or if that could be something that is done in a cold process. So you can sandblast glass, you can carve into glass. I'm not sure what she plans to do to add the words. She could draw on it with those stringers I was telling you about. All right, so we'll punty up the belly of our hummingbird again. Well, our new hummingbird, our second hummingbird. So we often get questions about why a glassmaker chooses glass, why we like to work with glass. Karen, why do you like working with glass?
Oh my gosh, it's like super, super hot. So, you know.
It's super hot is her reason.
On occasion, and that's pretty cool too. 'Cause it's like, wow, look, I burned. But it's also like so mushy and so like it's just fun. It's ooey and gooey and so shiny. It's so seductive. There's not much not to like, except for how expensive it is to make.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's everything's fun about it. I always feel, wow, we are the lucky people. I sit there and tell people I blow glass like I'm important. You say I blow glass because you know you're special.
She says it's ooey gooey, it's drippy, it's fun, it's exciting, and that she feels special when she blows glass and makes stuff out of glass. I think it's a great reason to do it. She also, likes the part where you might get burned. She seeks the danger. As we all do. Glass is one of the most unique mediums. Of course, I love glass as well. We all here do. But glass is something that we get involved in as glassmakers, and it captivates us, and we don't want to use anything else after that. It's really what we gravitate towards. We learn how to make anything that we can out of it. We learn how to make everything out of it, and then we make as much as we can out of it. There are a lot of glassmakers that also work with other materials and other mediums. Jasen is one of them. He's a great metalsmith, and he makes a lot of amazing glass-making tools also. He incorporates a lot of metal into his work, and he works with that as well. Yes? Yeah. So what happens to the little pieces that Karen's cutting off and we're putting back into the buckets over there? That stuff, that scrap, we'll give that to the city, and the city will take that and they'll use it as aggregate. So they'll grind all that glass up and they'll reuse that in some other form, usually as in filler and concrete and things like that. Yeah. Any clear glass left over, let's say we made everything out of clear glass, we could take all those scraps and we could throw that back into our furnace and remelt that. So we try to reuse as much as we can here, at least at the museum, but the color stuff, that's stuff that we can't put back into the oven. It'll contaminate the clear glass. Yeah. Thanks for your question. All right, so adding on the face of our hummingbird. Yoshi, once again, being a great assistant. Quick reheats. Looks like we have a green flower. A green flower happening over by Tom. Tom and Helen are making a blue flower, not a green one. So Karen's making that little bit to go on as the beak again. And again, she's going to wait to pull that. She's going to wait until later. But look how much attention she's putting into just this little bit that's going to go on to the beak, for the beak. These are methods that she has used, developed for 40 years of her glass career. So they work really well. Okay, here come the addition of the wings in a moment. She said to Jasen that she's ready for the wings. So Jasen starts the process of that. Yes, otherwise known as honey. Jasen, otherwise known as honey. Hey, Karen, what's your favorite animal to make?
Oh, God. I love every animal alive, so that's too hard to ask.
It's a good answer.
I like kitty cats. I like African wild dogs. I love maned wolves. I love fennec fox. I love hellbender salamanders. You know, if it moves, I love it.
That's awesome. If it moves, I love it. It's a great way to look at it. All right, here comes the wing. So she'll press it on, she'll start to pull it off a little bit, and then make the feathers. Yep, Karen loves life, loves nature, loves animals. She's known for making natural things. Leaves. She says, I'm not that thrilled with politics, but basically anything else. She's known for building up color texture, mosses, and bark on tree. If you just go to her website, you'll see all of this. Go to her Instagram, I think is what we have over there. You'll see all of that stuff. So, yes, very amazing at these natural things. She could write a textbook on how to make natural things out of glass, and she basically has. So anyone that needs to know how to or learn how to make moss to go on a log, they look up a video of Karen doing it, and then they're able to do it. Any other questions out here in the audience? Just checking in. Everyone's doing okay. It's a nice, calm night here in Corning. We're in our summer hours now, so we're doing our extended hours here at the museum. So we do a late show most days. Actually, every day. This one's our special late show. We're going to do a few more live streams throughout the summer. We have a few of our wood-fired furnace live streams coming up. This next Thursday, the 6th, is going to be our first one, and then we have another one a few weeks after that. So stay tuned for that. And then we have another live stream or two in the works for the summer. And of course, great live in-person demonstrations every day at the museum. Like I said, this is Karen and Jason are here teaching a glassblowing class next door at the studio. The studio offers glassblowing classes all year round. And so you could take one if you're interested. If you are someone who doesn't know anything about glass making, you can come to the Corning Museum of Glass, take a beginning glass making class. If you know a little bit about glass making, you can still come and take a class. If you're an advanced glass maker, come take a class at the museum. So the studio offers classes all year round. In the summer, we have we call it a summer lineup. A lot of great glass makers from around the world come here to teach. And these two come every once in a while. They've been here a lot to the museum to teach, a lot. All right, so hummingbird. Number 2, in our garage to safely sit until we're ready to take that out. We have a pickup box over here. It's at 1,000 degrees holding the chalice. We've turned it up a little bit so that when we take this out, we'll have some insurance and, to take this out with. And so it'll be a little hotter. It'll be a little safer to take it out for the glass. So we're ready almost to take that out. And once we do, we're going to start to assemble this piece together. So we have 2 or 3 bits that are already assembled for the banner. We have our 2 hummingbirds, and we have at least 2 or 3 flowers to add together. So we're taking a second to set everything. Get all of our tools together. Karen has an extensive tool collection over here. Every tool matters. You can have one tool that specifically makes this specific marking that really pulls that hummingbird together. You must have that tool. But you might not need all those tools to make the piece. So.
For just a couple minutes, we're going to be pulling out the chalice that was made earlier, and we're going to throw all the stuff on it.
Thanks, Karen.
And hope it won't break, but it won't.
So she says in a few moments we're gonna add the chalice and add the things to it. So again, setting ourselves up here. Any curiosities so far? Any questions? Awesome. When working with powders, we like to work out of a booth over here. Take some of the powderness away. To arrange them and get them ready. The type of glass that we're working with here is called soda lime glass. It's a glass that melts at a low temperature of 2,000 degrees. There are other glasses that you can work with that work at a higher temperature. But our soda lime glass is considered soft glass. To make glass, you need sand. To make this glass, you need sand, you need soda ash, and you need limestone. Soda ash is the flux, and it lowers the melting point of the glass. Limestone is a stabilizer, and it stabilizes those two ingredients. Without limestone, glass can be water soluble over time. To make color, you add a metal oxide into the material. So those raw ingredients, if you want to make a light blue, you add copper oxide to it. A green would be iron. The list goes on and on. Cadmium, selenium. So our live streams you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, and then when they are not being live streamed, they become archived. You can watch them on YouTube anytime after that. So we have an extensive YouTube channel full of videos for the past 20 years. So it's a really great resource to have if you're a glassmaker or you just love glass art and just want to watch glass for a while. But it's a great resource to learn as well. More to say?
What's that?
More to say?
What?
Anything more to say?
No, you're good.
Okay. You just let me know. So we are Karen said she's not nervous at all. It's going to go really well. Yeah, see, she said she's failed so many times that it's okay now. Yeah, you just work up that bravery through lots of failure. It happens. It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the glass knows when you're nervous. Yep. Then things go wrong. So Karen's students are in the audience as well, so she's given them some class secrets, if you will. So come take a class from Karen. She's got a lot of good advice, life advice. Yeah. Advanced intermediate sculpting classes. So we're waiting for this chalice to come up to temperature. 1050 is what we're going to pick it up at. It's there, but we really want the heat to soak into the glass. You can't just send the oven up and pick it right up because it's not hot yet. And that has a lot to do with the thickness of the glass and the temperature you're working with. So when we cool our glass down to room temperature, that's called annealing. If you put something in there that's maybe the size of a baseball and it's solid, and you put it into a 900-degree Kelvin, it's great at 900 degrees, but then if you try to get that oven down to room temperature in 8 hours, that baseball-sized piece of glass is still going to be hot in the core. Glass is an insulator. It holds on to its heat quite a bit. So the thicker the glass is, the longer it needs to cool because you're trying to cool the entire mass of the glass, get it to an equal temperature every single time that you turn it down. So little by little, it has to equalize before you can go to the next step of the annealing process. So as you go through the museum or as you have today, if you see those thick pieces of glass that are sometimes 2 or 3 feet thick, those took months to anneal. So there's a really big piece in our gallery. It's called, it's a really big marble, and I don't know how heavy it is. I think it's at least 80 pounds. But it's solid, 2 or 3 times bigger than a bowling ball. That took 7 months to anneal, to come all the way down to room temperature. So you have to really back that temperature down slowly when the glass is thicker. Now, we don't have a bowling ball size piece of glass in our oven that we're getting up to a higher temperature, but we do have something of great importance. And I would say the thickest part of it is maybe a centimeter. So the heat's soaking into it really nicely, but we're just being extra careful. We're just adding a little extra time to this as we let it soak 50 degrees above. We're going to put it up another 50 degrees so that when we do take it out, the shock of it being out of the oven isn't going to be realized by the glass. It isn't going to harm the glass. So again, 1,000 degrees is a good temperature to take glass out of an oven and then get into a 2,000 degree oven, but if it's a little higher, we do run the risk of it moving in there. With this glass that we use here, I'm not nervous about that at all. I do think we all think it needs to start at a higher temperature with what we're using these days. So we're turning it up a little bit more. Jason is preparing the punty. The punty is this little bit of glass that's going to go on the bottom of the piece. And this is designed to be able to really break off easily later. So when we pick this up, we want this punty connection to be a very good connection. However, it should release easily later, depending on what type of punty this is also. We have right now, just a little bit of glass. I would call it a skin of glass that is really cooling down. So we're going to go in and get more glass over top of this. We're going to pick it up on a crown punty. Perfect. So that means that we're going to make a punty that the top looks like a crown. And then that can attach to the bottom of this piece. Then we'll make a constriction line underneath where that crown is, in between the pipe and where that crown of glass is. And that constriction line is where we will break that piece off of the bottom when we go to break the whole piece off to put away into our oven. The importance of the crown punny is something that gives us stability while we make this piece, that we can rely on its temperature, we can rely on its thickness, and we can rely on maybe a little bit of torque with it as well. But it's also something that we can cold work off later on. We have a question online. Where Karen learned to blow glass. Karen learned at, she began her artistic experience at Ohio University. She got a BFA in sculpture. And she learned glass from then on. So I'm going to ask her that question in a few more moments. Hey, Karen, where did you learn to blow glass?
Ohio University, I took the class. I never saw glass blowing before. I thought it was lamp working, like I was going to get a job in a circus or at least the mall. And I walk in and somebody was blowing glass, and I was like, that is how I'm spending the rest of my life.
Perfect. That's a great one. She said she knew that second. Yeah. A lot of us can relate to that. Seeing glass and then your first touch of it, your first moment with it is life-changing. And she still super, super loves it as much as when she got into it. Yep. You gotta have a sense of humor with glass. Or else it'll win. Yeah. Yep. Okay, here we go. He heated that punty. He goes in to stick it onto the foot. He pulls it out, our beautiful chalice, and he's going to put it right into our our oven, our reheating chamber, to heat that up. It's moving a little bit on the punty. That's okay. We need to put it in. We need to put it into the oven right away. Nicely done. It's safe and sound. We're going to gradually again work that heat into it, and it's finished. Now we purposefully squished it. So we want it to look like that. Again, Chris Rochelle made this beautiful chalice, another very talented glassmaker on our full-time team here at the museum. And Karen said, will you also give it a little squish? So it's purposefully squished like that. You can do that on an accident. That's kind of a thing glassmakers do sometimes on accident. When they go to put a piece away and the piece is too hot, they'll hold it in their gloves, some Kevlar gloves, to put it into the oven. And sometimes if it's too hot, they'll squish it. It happens, but this was intentional. Here we come. Here we go. Jason's making that crease in the glass now. So he made a small constriction line in that punty. That's a very sturdy connection right now. It's a one we can invest in. So this punty is not going to break off right where it's connected to the piece, like traditionally it would, or like a normal vessel sculpture would. Normal is kind of skewed, but we'll break it off underneath that. Okay. We're getting some more tools out. Again, specific tools are so important. Jason's going to maintain that temperature, make sure everything's nice and warm. The first thing inside of the oven, And the last thing outside of the oven is the part of the piece that's the furthest away from the end of the pipe. So the coldest part of the piece is going to be the part that's closest to the pipe. So we're always going to be watching that temperature, making sure it stays nice and hot. So she's got this torch in her hands. She's going to start to mark areas of the glass where she's going to start to add things to. So right where she heats that glass up, it'll get hot enough to where she can make a tiny mark. And then we'll add things to it. So Yoshi's going to get some pieces on the paddle, take it out of the garage, and put it immediately inside of our reheating chamber to reheat for just a moment. We don't want it to stick to the paddle so we don't overheat it. And then she'll bring it over and we'll stick it on. So there's part of the ribbon. She's going to heat the area that she wants to be attached. And that part is going to stick onto the glass. All right, super hot, and it touches down. So there's part of the ribbon.
And then you have the long one. Yep.
Okay, the middle one's going to be added on now. So we add a little extra heat, again, keeping everything nice and warm. And Yoshi can't just take that stuff out of the garage. You can't just put it on the paddle and take it right out. You not only want to get it ready on the paddle, you want to get it over towards that left side that's the hotter side, that's the 1050 side. And then you want to hold it over the flame. There's a flame on that 1050 side. And when you hold it over the flame, that gets it a little, like as warm as it can be before it's taken out. Oh, look, we have the letters on this. Great. Wonderful. So we're going to round robin flash. We want this to connect, I think, to two sides. Karen grabs it with a pair of tongs. She's got gloves on now. She's knows she's going to be really close to this piece. And when we're in the moment of this, you know, we're close to the piece. We got to get that part of it on. We can't be worried about if our hand's going to touch the glass. So we'll put a glove on for that moment. So she sticks it down, good connection, and she'll connect it as it sticks onto the piece. Live your spirit. Love it. Thanks, everybody. It's a good mantra. So she's in direct communication with Yoshi, who's running things in and out of the garage. So these two will chat.
After this, I'll take a couple leaves and flowers after this. It'll be a
Tie-dye Thursday here at the museum for Karen's class. brief reheats. So that's why we have that chalice flattened a bit so that we have a front-facing area for this. So that we can have that banner right along the front, and we don't have to work so much around the piece. Live your spirit. Okay, the third part of the ribbon is going to go on now. So you see how it's really good to put pieces in parts together to make the whole. If you were going to make a ribbon on glass, we kind of think, well, we can stretch it out and we can just wrap it on it, but that doesn't always go as well as you think it might. It's good to kind of scale it back a little bit and think, well, maybe I'll divide it into thirds since it does attach on those two areas. Anyway, it might look nice, and it does. So Karen knows this. She's already been through that. She already kind of knows, well, you know, if I try to stretch it really big, and I'm sure she could manage it, but it is easier to just kind of add this in parts. So sticks it on right where it attaches to that corner. And then they'll cinch it down a bit more.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go straight up and down with it? Just where it's at. Sure.
Holding it up, we can get a better vantage point. So she's arranging how she wants the ribbon to look. And that's a perfect gesture for it. When you think about it, you know, the way that will fall naturally to where it doesn't look like it's, you know, made like it is here. She nailed it. Okay, here come some flowers and leaves made by Tom and Helen.
How beautiful.
And she loves them. She thinks they're beautiful. Yeah, they did a really good job. All right. So, the amazing sculptor she is, she knows to put some of these things in the seams.
So when it's time, I'm going to cut like a bunny, honey, okay?
So these green ones are leaves, and she heats up the bottom of the leaf. And sticks it right on. It's good to heat that area up nicely So you get a good connection. Now we have some flowers. They're very lotusy. She loves them. Nice. So again, heating the back up, we really want to get a good connection there. She finds where she wants it to go, where she's feeling it deserves to go. Oh, the flowers are making Karen very happy. Yeah. Good job, Tom. Great camera shots. All right, flower number 2. And then they're kind of planning what they think they might want to do next. So you want to start with a good plan. So they're talking about whether they want to straighten this cup now or wait until the end, and she says she wants to wait till the end. Sometimes you just it's kind of nice to just not have to wait or do it twice. Yeah. Oh, the what? Say it again. Yeah, is it is the chalice the shape that they want? Yeah, I'd say so. Right now, if you were to stand this on end, we might have it might be a little kind of wonky because we're heating it to where we keep everything nice and warm, and the nice delicate parts of that are going to kind of get a little skewed. So at the end, they're going to, I think, get everything nice and warm, roll it, and straighten it out. Yeah, but yeah, generally the shape that they want to. Yeah, good question. Any other questions while we've got a moment? We have many moments, actually. If you have any questions, just wave your hand and I'll get to you. All right, here comes another flower. Oh, it's so nice. Back into our oven. Okay, hummingbirds are next. And again, she's still thinking about those beaks. If we keep heating it over and over again, the beaks are going to kind of, again, roll back and be less pointy. We want that nice feeling of that detail. And if that happens, she might be able to still pull them out and kind of re-straighten, re-sharpen them. It really depends on how they go, how it goes putting them on. All right, here comes a bird. Okay, she'll find an awesome place to stick the bird. It's as if the bird is holding the banner in flight. Very nice. There's our blue hummingbird. And then next will be our last hummingbird. All right. So another heat, another stick. This is definitely Karen's thing, assembling with animals. Nicely done. All right, we're not going to add anything more to this. They're calling it. We are going to probably re-straighten it, get everything homogeneous and happy, and then put it away into the oven to cool. So Jeff's going to do this. Jeff's really good at straightening things like this. It's Karen's jam to put it all together. It's Jeff's jam to straighten it. So they're going to look again, making sure everything is just the way they want it. And then they're going to let that area cool and not do anything with it anymore so they can focus on the rest of our chalice. So we're going to focus some heat on that punty, get it nice and warm. That's where we're going to start to straighten. In this chalice, Chris Rochelle made an air twist. He's very good at those. So you can see those bubbles in the stem of the chalice. And those bubbles were created there. They were put there. And then Chris grabbed it and kind of twisted it and got a really beautiful bubble trap stem. And he made that today. So it's been in that oven today, waiting for us to pick it up and add all these things to it. All right, we're getting ready to put this away, but again, straightening comes first. All right. So by rolling it against a paddle, we'll straighten that foot out. Letting the other side sag. But soon we're going to put this in the oven, and we're going to lay it down in the oven, so we don't have to really worry about it standing on the foot in there, but we do want to straighten it so that it's functional. We can sit on that foot once it's been cold worked. But once we get this broken off, we're still going to have a little bit of the residual punty on there. We did that by design. We want that to be there. And then that'll be ground away. The chalice is clear glass. You can kind of see it as it's a bit colder. The clear coming through. So letting it sag, forcing it into place. So a piece like this will need maybe, we'll put it on probably 24 hours. Let it cool slowly. We have a lot of connections attached to the piece. We have a lot of components. So really just let it cool. This piece will be out after that. So maybe not tomorrow, but the next day. So if you're around the museum, come by, check it out. But we will probably put this on social media. And it will be on the end of the live stream. Once this is archived and put on our YouTube channel, we should see this at the end of it. So you can see as we stop, it falls. There's still a lot of detail involved. We don't want to overheat it. We're getting there. So it looks good. We're going to start getting it off with the punty. Okay. I'll put it away into our annealing oven. So Yoshi's going to put it away. She's got Kevlar gloves, a face shield. They're going to fix the beaks. Okay, we're going to make sure those beaks are, once again, tiny. And just like a hummingbird's beaks are. So we're going to pull those beaks out again. Last detail, because it is so, such an important detail. We want to pull those out. Last thing. There's a good one around the annealer. That's fine. Here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, they're going to trim it down using shears, getting that a little more delicate so that when it does break, we again have more insurance that it comes off cleanly without affecting the piece. So we call it chomping it down with some shears. Not trying to cut it off right now, just trying to tighten that constriction line, make it smaller. Yoshi's there just in case it pops off. Oh, and they're going to do it now. Okay, so a couple drops of water on that punty connection, and Yoshi, again, is there ready. And then they'll pop it right off of that that punty with a light tap after a couple drops of water. Beautifully done. Up and into our oven it will go, safe and sound. We'll lay it down onto the fracks. Beautifully done. All right, and there we have it. Karen and Jasen, everyone. Beautifully done. I also want to thank Alexis and Brad and Jasen for AV, Olivia for online stream, Yoshi, Ade, Helen, Tom, and Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great night.